Okay, so in the last video, I talked about corporate taxation in Hong Kong in 2024, and I mentioned the offshore tax exemption. So what is this thing and how it works? That's what we'll be covering here briefly, so you have an overview of how it actually works. So Hong Kong use what we call a territorial-based taxation, which means it will only tax the income sourced or arising from Hong Kong. Okay, so if you run a company that has no operations, no clients, no staff, no director in Hong Kong, you could ask for the offshore tax exemption. And at that moment, you could be exempt from paying tax in Hong Kong. Okay, so this is what the offshore tax exemption is about. You have to be careful because there is a new regulation called the Foreign Source Income Exemption, the FSIE, that was introduced in January 2023, if my memory is good. And basically what they say is that it's a new regulation to please the European Union, basically, that complained that too many companies were having offshore company in Hong Kong because they could pay 0% tax on their passive income, so dividends, interest, etc. So basically, Hong Kong made an amendment to this offshore tax exemption. However, this amendment is full of loopholes. I will most likely make another video on this video. But what happened is that if you're an SME, you don't really fall under this foreign source income exemption. So all the way to 100 million Hong Kong dollars a year, if you have less than 100 employees, you are not under these foreign source income exemptions, so you shouldn't worry. There is even exemption all the way to 200 million, and even for multinationals, if you set up a establishment in Hong Kong, permanent establishment, is also a way around. So you shouldn't be overly worried with this foreign source income exemption regime. Many accountant and tax advisor are still trying to get a grasp on it because it's quite new even for us. It's not a really easy law. But yeah, most of my clients are not under this regime because you need to make quite a big amount of money first before having any issues there. So for the SME, if you're a private company, less than 100 employees, less than 100 million turnover, the revenue, sorry, you don't qualify. And if you're a larger company, but you're a private company under 100 employees and you make less than 200 million, you can also escape it by passing a resolution, and that's it. Okay. I'm not even talking about the multinational, but this is mostly for multinational companies, this regime. So we can still run the offshore tax exemption for small businesses in Hong Kong. Now, in terms of offshore salary, another thing that you have to consider, sometimes, the offshore tax exemption might take a while to be accepted in Hong Kong, or all the way up to 3 years. So another thing you can also consider that is a bit easier also is to ask for an offshore salary. But just make sure if you take an offshore salary, check with your accountant. Do not take director fees from abroad because these will be taxed in Hong Kong as well. Okay, so director fees don't work, but offshore salary, we can account it. So if you have any question on that, really don't hesitate to send an email to my team at info@athenasia.com. I'll give you more details on your personal case. Now, one thing to be really careful when you ask for the offshore tax exemption in Hong Kong is be careful with your personal residency, because in the past, you set up a business offshore and then you were making your money offshore and then you were just banking in a tax haven with bank secrecy. But nowadays, this bank secrecy is kind of gone, so you have to be really careful, because if you have a residency in a country that tax worldwide income, this offshore tax exemption can play against you. So you better go and approach a local tax advisor in your own jurisdictions to make sure that this whole thing can work for you. Or you choose a residency that works. If you live in a place where there is no worldwide tax, then it's okay, you can do the offshore tax exemption. Okay.